Actions speak louder, the RYUC Manifesto. A manifesto is seen as a public declaration of the intentions, motives, views, opinions, objectives, and the like by an individual or individuals to expound or enumerate the guiding principles and beliefs that inform their actions. What is here is the RYUC Manifesto. About the time I began to do recordings related to the RYUC material to post on the RYUC and Beyond YouTube channels, I made an improvisational recording about what I was seeking to do. At the time, I set it aside. Now, in having dissolved the business in which I was involved that consumed much of my time and my life, I now have been spending more time creating recordings for YouTube. In stumbling across this recording, I feel it very much meets the concept of a manifesto for the RYUC understanding, related websites, and YouTube recordings. You will note at the end of the recording, it ends rather awkwardly with a comment about being already 15 minutes. The reason for this is I understand to really communicate certain information, the clips should be short and to the point and easily retrievable. So I look to create clips less than 15 minutes. Now, with the exception of this one and a few others, I'm looking to make all the clips single topic and easily searchable by topic and about 5 to 10 minutes. If what is said in this recording resonates with you in some way, then the RYUC and Beyond recordings may have something you may find useful in your creative endeavors. Here is the original recording. There is an old saying, and it's action speaks louder than words. So I can give a lot of information relative to what I learned from the journey of the exploration of our creativity. And there's good information there. But the question is, how do I live my life differently because of what I've come to understand about our creativity and the creative power available to us? And I think this is really what it boils down to, is what I've come to understand is we're each very, very unique. We each come here with reasons unique to us, and we each need to learn to follow our own heart, intuition, and life path to move towards the experiences that we incarnated to have. I can give a lot of information relative to why I've come to these conclusions, and I will do so in bits and pieces in various recordings or websites or whatever. But I think it boils down to is, what have I learned? Now, in the RYUC and Beyond, I created a legend for the journey of the exploration of creativity. And I talked about labeling different video clips relative to the information they provide, whether they're recommendations or a technique or an observation or speculation. Now, what's interesting about speculation is, as one gains a deeper understanding of any area, the speculations change. And although one may have a deep understanding about a particular topic, and as they learn more and more, they change their speculations and their thinking about the topic, to others, the person seems to move more and more into the realm of craziness, simply said. And I did create a discussion topic recording on speculation and used aviation and flying as a model. So what is here is what I have come to do relative to my life because of what I've learned from the exploration of our creativity. To some, what I suggest here and how I'm trying to live my life is really crazy, but because of the exploration, it's like this is where the evidence suggests and points that I have to go towards, and I think that's what's important. And I think one of the most important things is that I have no doubt that there's a very loving and compassionate, for lack of a better words, energy and creative force within each of us that supports each of us from the unseen realm. This creative energy is what nourishes us, gives us life, and allows us to fulfill our reason for being here. And when we've achieved what we have come to do, then we leave. Now, I think two important points need to be made here. One is, a big part of the understanding I have has come from standing back and observing the nature of people and creation. And the one big thing that really makes a difference is, a long time ago I asked, is there one way to view creation that no matter what a person experiences, rather, is there one way to view creation that no matter what a person believes, they will have some experience of that belief that they can then point to and say, see, this is true, that's the way it works, this is the way creation works, this is the way I create. And looking across all of the different books, literature, comments people make, people's lives, near-death experiences, looking at everything and standing back and say, okay, what is the common picture? And the common picture is that we are creators, and we create in how and what we think and believe. But it's not simple or simply that we're a human. Rather, we have what I would call a higher self that has not incarnated, and only a part of us has incarnated to have the experience that this higher self chose to have. Now, this higher self is another discussion, and I guess this is one of the things that I will say, okay, there needs to be a discussion topic on higher self, and I'll send you there, because that's not the focus of this talk right now. It's about how I live my life. I think what I've come to understand is we can't give what we ain't got. We have to have within us what we want to give. If we do not know how to love unconditionally within ourselves and give to ourselves unconditional love, we can't give it to another. And what is unconditional love? Well, that's a topic also. And a big part of it is to give non-judgingly, and in my opinion, what a creation needs to grow and unfold, flower, and have its fragrance go into the world. Okay, it's to nourish the true needs of a creation and not what we want to give. So the big question comes in is, what is our true needs? What is it we have to give ourselves so that we're able to have a very fulfilling and wonderful inner satisfaction that we can then share and give to others? So, relative to my life, a couple things that I do. One is to know that there is a creative, life-giving, loving, supportive, nurturing, healing, comforting, calming energy that flows from the source of creation into my heart, into my being, and is pumped and flows through all parts of my being, healing and restoring health, and then flowing out into the world. And for me, it's to flow out into the world to help create the space for others to experience the beauty of their own heart. And then the other thing is sort of as a mantra. I say there's a profound calmness within my being, and any anger, frustration, disappointment, discouragement, whatever disrupts this calmness surfaces to be addressed and the energy dissipated to return to a calmness. And this is something I've used since about 20 some years ago. And I routinely run it through my mind. and it's very useful, especially when I'm in traffic and getting annoyed at the way people drive, is to return to a state of calmness. So those two things I use all the time. I run them through me. If I awake at night, having difficulty going to sleep, I just imagine a creative, life-giving, loving, nurturing, healing, comforting energy flowing into my heart and flowing through all parts of my being, healing and restoring health, and flowing out into the world. So I routinely put those two thoughts into my mind routinely. So that helps me to have an inner calmness. And again, to me, in following our life path and learning to pay attention to our intuition, it will lead us to a life worth living, a life that's so satisfying that if we died today and found out eternity is doing what we're doing now for eternity, I would be happy. You know, there's always a little difficulty in life. There's things that we would prefer maybe not to experience. But then again, this is what physical creation is about. The fact we have difficulties doesn't mean we have to be unhappy in the difficulties. We can still have an inner happiness, an inner satisfaction with life and about what's happening, and listening to ourselves and what we need to do in any situation. You know, I've looked greatly at the human being and become aware of a lot of the problems that we have occur long before we have a mind to know what's right and wrong or good and bad. As a young child, we just copy what we see in the world around us, whether it's our parents or caregivers or life itself, and we take that in and we overlay that with our reason for incarnating. And sometimes the information's helpful and supportive, and other times it takes away from our life path. So we have to shed certain things. We have to be willing to let go of what doesn't serve us. And in my own life, I've had to let go of a lot of stuff that doesn't serve me, that I've been programmed to live and to be, and what's important in life. And as I look back on my life and see how different I live my life today and how I think about life as when I was a very young man, it's quite astounding. And I'm thankful for the experiences, and I don't judge myself for the decisions I made, because I made them with the best knowledge I had at the time. And so too now, I will make decisions based upon the best knowledge I have at this point in time, without worrying about necessarily them being seen as right or wrong in the eyes of the world. As long as my heart knows I'm doing what I need to do, regardless of the consequences, and I trust it. And for me, it's ultimately proven correct. It may put me in some difficult situations, but they have a way of working out. So, what does it mean in how I live my life? It's to rely on my intuition and to know that my mind is judging and perceiving the world based upon my past experiences. But I know that in any truly creative endeavor, mind is of little value. Mind only knows the past. So I have to continually ask my mind to step aside and observe and watch and pay attention, because what's needed is not necessarily what my mind wants. It's to act for what the situation calls for, and in many ways it's to nourish the true needs of what the situation asks. What is really being asked in the situation? And this brings up the whole concept of oneness, that everything is one, everything is already interconnected. To live that realization is to say that anything in front of me is somehow already connected. I'm there to give whomever is there an experience, and they're there to give me an experience. And the question is, do I stay attentive to my true needs and ask, what do I need to do to meet the true needs of the other? Or do I go into my mind and judge everything as right or wrong, this is good, this is bad, without paying attention to what is truly occurring here and what needs to occur? That's the difference. So I find this very intriguing, that to talk from the perspective of how do I live my life based upon what I've learned, and then provide a lot of discussion topics on the various statements that I make. And then the person can take those statements and those discussion topics, eat and digest them like they would any food, use what's useful and throw the rest away, and step out to live true to themselves. That's one of the most important things I've learned is the greatest things I can do for somebody is inspire them to live their uniqueness, empower them to live their uniqueness, and do what I can for them to help them to live their uniqueness. And that's what I look to do with every individual who comes into my life. My feeling is they're there for me to help inspire them and empower them to live their life, no matter what it is. So it's a different way of living life, and I look carefully at what's being asked for in any situation. I'm already at 15 minutes, so it looks like this is going to take some time to do, and I need to think through this process of how to go about doing it. So with that, I'm going to end this and use it as a starting point. And with that, I'll say goodbye.